Welcome to Canadian Justice. I'm Christine Van Gyn, and today we're discussing the legal status of child marriage in Canada. This topic may be distressing for some viewers. Canada is a strong advocate for the end of child marriage globally, but perhaps hypocritically, child marriage remains legal in Canada. Legally, at the age of 16, a child is free to marry, even though globally we consider child marriage to be any marriage under the age of 18. And a McGill study shows that between the year 2000 and 2018, over 3,600 marriage certificates were issued to children under 18 in Canada. Usually, the child involved in these marriages were girls. Canada also has prohibitions on taking a child under the age of 16 outside of Canada for the purposes of marriage abroad, even if that child says she wants to get married. What do we know about child marriage? Why is it legal for a minor to marry? And what are the implications of the current status of child marriage on child development and concerns like human trafficking? Here today to discuss this are two experts, the co-author of that McGill study, Alissa Koski, and human rights lawyer David Natus with a charity called Beyond Borders. Thank you both so much for joining me. Alissa, I want to start with you. Let's talk about that study that you did on child marriage. What did you learn about these nearly 4,000 minors who were married in Canada between 2000 and 2018?
Happy to talk about it, Christine. First, let me tell you just briefly about how we did the study. So we contacted vital statistics agencies in every province and territory across Canada and asked them to give us information on marriage certificates that were filed in those jurisdictions since the year 2000. So we know that these are marriages that happened in Canada. We know that they were certified by the governments of those provinces or territories. And as you noted, we found over 3,700 children were granted marriage certificates over that time period. The most striking finding, I would say, is that Canada is not unique whatsoever when it comes to child marriage practices. Child marriage is rarer here than it is in other parts of the world, but when it happens, it looks almost exactly like it does anywhere else. As you mentioned, these are almost exclusively girls who are getting married, and they're getting married across the country. We found instances of child marriage in every single province and territory, so it's not restricted to any one region of Canada. And they're mostly 16 or 17 years old when they get married.
And what do we know about the people that they are marrying? Is there a way we can generalize? Is there usually a large age gap? Are they usually close in age? What do we know about that?
Sure, it's often something that people raise when I talk about this research. They say, oh, well, maybe this is just two teenagers who are a bit precocious, in love, they want to get married. Our data show that that's typically not the case. So almost exclusively, this is a girl under the age of 18 who's getting married to a man over the age of 18. The average age difference is about 4 years. And I'll tell you that in 36% of cases of child marriage, this is a girl under the age of 18 who's marrying a man who's at least 5 years older than she is. And in the most extreme cases, we've had cases of up to a 30+ year age difference between spouses in this country.
And do we have any information about how many of those marriages are actually forced? Because there's, I think, a big concern about not actually being fully able to understand the implications of getting married when you're a teenager.
To be honest, whether or not these marriages are forced, we don't know a lot about that. You know, when you fill out your marriage certificate, no one asks you if you're being forced to marry or not. So we don't have a lot of hard data on it. That said, there are certainly people who are of the opinion that if you can't consent to other things in your life, like consenting to have a drink of alcohol or consenting to rent an apartment, that it's strange that you're theoretically able to consent to marriage. One important point to raise here, though, is that for a child to marry in Canada currently, their parent has to consent as well. So that makes things kind of interesting. On the one hand, it says that, okay, well, we don't believe that children are able to independently consent to get married. Their parents have to be involved. And in some cases, people will say, oh, well, this is a protective measure. You know, we're allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to marry, but their parents have to sign off. So the parents wouldn't sign off on anything that's not in their best interest. Unfortunately, time and time again, when we talk to children who have been married, it's often their parents who are pushing for that marriage.
Right.
So a parent's signature saying that they consent
Right.
could in fact be the
May
parents
not be
driving the marriage.
helping at all, maybe hurting. We've got to go to break, but we'll be right back.